Welcome to the Modern Savvy CPA, where financial expertise meets the cutting edge of digital age. I'm Sherron, your host, a certified public accountant, here to guide you through the intricate web of numbers and regulations, offering a fresh perspective of the ever-evolving world of finance. You know, you want to expose your kids to different things that are happening in the world. You want to make sure that you explain to your kids giving to charity is important, because whatever God gives you, he gives you to share, and he will give you more as you share. Because if he gives you too much, it means that he is entrusting you with whatever it is that he's entrusting you, and he is expecting you to use it wisely, whether you're using it around your family, your friends, yourself, or to help people, because there's always something that you can do to help, whether it's with money, time, your knowledge, your gifts. You can always help. So I'm always trying to tell my kids, you pay it forward. You know, whatever you're doing, you pay it forward. If somebody does something good for you, you can pay it forward and do good for something for somebody else. So always do that. These are the years that it's a good time. Between 7 and 12 is a good time to open a bank account for your kids. Now, there are young savers accounts now starting this young. So because we're not dealing with cash and our society is becoming cashless, having the bank account and having the debit card is something that you need to be. It's more important, because we're not dealing with cash. We're dealing more with our cashless society. So we need to rethink the way we were taught about money and how we're teaching our kids about money, because it's not as easy as my older son when we had the 3 different Ziploc bags. Now we have more with my younger son. It was more of understanding his debit card and how, the debit card is not endless, and how you should, understand what you're doing with the debit card. My younger son, I'll give you an example. When he got his account, I think he was 11 or 12, and it was a young savers account. And for some reason, the bank was not able to attach it to my online banking so I can see what's happening with him. And this boy loves video games, and was on the computer doing video games and went crazy with his account on this. And it took the bank maybe, almost a year to figure out how to attach his account to mine. Thank God I was not able to see what he was doing, because I would have probably, killed him if I was seeing what he was doing with these video games or whatever. But everything happens for a reason, and God knows why things happen. Because I was not able to see this child got to understand that money's not endless, and when he's spending it out on these video games, spending it recklessly, it disappears. And today, now that he's 16 years old, he is much better with his money. He understands what he did before. He learned from his mishaps and mistakes. Maybe if I had seen it, he wouldn't have learned as much. So maybe it was God taking me out of the equation, teaching my child that if you're going to go reckless like this, eventually it's going to be done. And that's how he learned. So, that's how my youngest learned about that money's not endless, and your debit card can't just be pushed in all the time. And he learned how to control. Today, he is so much better at budgeting his money, so much better at keeping his money, and so much better at understanding what he spends and what he doesn't spend. So, and I believe that because he was able to lose it a little bit, he learned, going back to the saying where if you can't listen, you have to feel. Well, he felt it. He felt it when he didn't have any money in his account. So he felt it and he learned from it. So that's one of the lessons that he learned. Between the ages of 13 and 18, you want to start talking to your kids about credit cards. In my credit card smart money habits that we talked about if you add your child below the age of 18, it starts to build their credit. And that's how you can start them building your credit. Whether you're letting them use the credit card or not, you can still add that to them. But You start teaching them about credit cards. You start teaching them the pros and cons about credit cards, how credit cards are not an extension of your cash. Cash is just a replacement way to pay, but you have to pay that bill at the end. You start teaching them about investing. You start teaching them about taxes. Between 13 and 18, they're ready. As the child is starting to become a young adult now. So it's time to step up the game and help them with the complex topics. And these are the complex topics. And like I said, if you feel that it's something that you don't know enough about, then you educate yourself. You build your financial literacy while you are building their financial literacy. That is something that you get to a trusted advisor that you are listening to that can help them and help you at the same time. So one of the things that I did was kind of give them money to control their school supplies. Okay, you have this much money to buy your school supplies. Go take this credit card, calculate what it is, show them how, if you don't pay the bill off at the end of the month, the interest rate is this much. This is what you need to calculate. It's a math lesson that they need to learn. Before your teen racks up any credit card debt on their own, consider adding them to be an authorized user on your card. Show them that interest occurs unless the balance is paid off at the end. That there's a late payment and the late payment hurts your credit. Teach them about your credit, because credit can make or break you. Credit can make or break your budget. If you are paying, I was talking to an acquaintance the other day, and she said she was listening to me, and she decided to calculate how much interest her and her husband has paid on credit cards last year. And she calculated it was $7,000 of interest on credit cards, because they believe on using their credit cards. They believe on making sure that they have points and all of that, but they weren't concentrating on paying it off. They were just concentrating on using it. But if you're not using it wisely, then it totally defeats the purpose of the points and the rewards that you're going to be getting if you're going to be paying 30% interest on your balance. So there are smart ways to do it. You can still get your points and your rewards without carrying a balance or without carrying a high interest balance. There are ways to use credit cards to your benefits with the little giveys that they give you, and being able to use it as just an electronic payment that you pay off at the end. So you need to teach your kids about that. The research has showed that, if the kids understand these things, then they will be less likely to rack up their own credit at the end, because they already learned from what, not digging themselves in a deeper hole later. Teach your kids. One of the other things, for example, that you should be teaching your kids is teach your child to research colleges. Encourage them to understand, reading about the school brochure, understand what the cost of college is. It's not just the tuition, it's the fees, it's the food, it's the room and board, it's all these things. Many successful people trace their money skills back to a formative moment, getting a job as a teen, better experiencing firsthand on taxes, having a boss that takes part of the team, being a part of a team within schoolwork that's helping them to understand their budget, having a part-time side gig. For example, my older son used to do refereeing for soccer. That's how he made some of his money. He did dog walking. That's how he made some of his money. I don't know. He's a first world child, so it's really hard to teach first world children hard lessons when you as a parent have been somewhat successful in building your own wealth. But we're still trying, and we still need to teach them, and we still need to explain to them the goals. We still need to show them the goals. We still need to come up with savings plans for long-term goals. Like if they want a car, If you're saving for college, you need to start teaching them at this time what the college is. You can use a budget app like Goal Setter or Mint to help you with to visualize your progress in these things, to keep keep their spending in check, so they understand, they have a sense of ownership. You want to make sure that they understand the cost of college, where they're going to. We're going to have we're going to continue our Teach Your Kids About Money series, Teach Your Kids Smart Money Habits series on colleges and the cost of college and why we have this insurmountable debt that we're going through right now because no one ever sits with parents and kids that I've known when I went to college or when my oldest started going to college and explain to them that they need to have a budget and where they want to go matters, what kind of degree they want to do, what things they want to explore. All of these things matters. It doesn't mean that you shouldn't do what you like and do what you love, but you find a way to incorporate all of that. And it might take your kids a while to figure these things out, but you need them to start thinking about it. Start thinking about the finances, how the decisions that they're making affect their finances, how you don't want them to go into debt, whether it's credit card debt, student loan debt, all these different things, and then they're not going to be able to use what they're going into debt for, especially with the student loans. So we're going to continue talking about that in a different series, but that's something that you start teaching them in high school. No one ever sat down with me and my son. No one ever sat down with me about understanding college finance, understanding the cost of education. And that's something that's missing in our society, our first world society, whether you're a wealthy individual or whether you're living in poverty. No one sits down and talks to you about the finance of college. So that's where our problem is. It's not the forgiveness of the loans, is when we're taking the loans out that is the root of all of the problems. So we're going to definitely discuss that further in another session with the Smart Money Habits and with the Modern Savvy CPA. So getting involved in these decisions help your children. Let them understand the family expenses, the mortgage, the car payment, what kind of car you're buying, why you didn't buy your luxury car until you were 45 years old, big purchases. Include them in sensible decisions. Explain to them when you're going on vacations what the vacations cost, what the responsibilities and understanding is. Just be open with them about the money, things that are happening. You don't want them to be worried, but you want them to be aware, and you want them to have these skills. These are essential skills so they don't end up having problems later on in their lives. You want to make sure that, you're patient with them and you're supportive, because developing smart money habits takes time and effort. You have to be patient with your children as they learn, as they make mistakes. Like I had to work my patience in when my son went crazy on his debit card that I did not see. So you want to make sure that you're doing all of those things. So, this is our first in many talks about our kids, financial literacy and money, because our kids are always our kids. No matter if they're 5 or 50, they're still our kids. So we start off at 3 and it's endless after that. And if we're doing a good job at the beginning, then maybe they will be able to teach us some things as life goes on. And if we're not doing a good job at the beginning, we should try to learn as we're teaching them. So this is Sherron, the Modern Savvy CPA, with another smart money habit, teaching your kids about money. Thank you so much for tuning in. As always, feel free to give me a follow to get updated on new and upcoming episodes, and listen in every Tuesday and Thursday, where I teach you smart money habits so you can make better money choices with a financial goal focus.